Welcome to IGH Going Rogue. Today is Tuesday, December the 10th, and we're just having a ball, man. We're having a blast. It is a fun time to be living in America and, frankly, living around the world. We have a special guest, the Tucker Carlson of Latin America, Diego Acuna, good friend. Diego, welcome to Going Rogue, man.
Hey, Ivan, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you sent me a post which was pretty funny. I guess there was this anti-woke parade going on in Lima, Peru, and the main banner leading this parade was a Trump banner.
It was, yeah. And Lopez Aliaga, the mayor of Lima, was the one who posted that. So I thought it was twice as effective and funny. But that was the result of gay marriage. Well, not exactly gay marriage, but what was proposed in Congress by a congressman was the union between two people of the same sex that was a copy and paste of the legal, the mark or the, how would you call it?
Like the law?
Regulatory.
Yeah.
Not the law, but it was the exact same frame.
Yes.
Frame is the word. Yep. Of what we understand by marriage between a man and a woman. So it was that. And as we know, progressives work step by step. So once that is approved, then marriage comes, and then adoption of children comes. And so we wanted to make a firm stance against that.
That's good. So we've been talking through this entire campaign and through the election, and you were kind enough to have me on your show before the election. The influence of Trump is not just in the U.S.; it's global. But what I found very shocking, deal, and this is very shocking to me for a lot of people, because we saw this massive swing in Latin America to the left. In Peru, you guys had a Maoist, a communist, Castillo, who won, which is insane. Lula in Brazil, et cetera. You go, to Petro, you go to Chile, you go wherever. And it's like, oh my God, we're losing the entire continent. And then Milei. And now you're seeing, and we saw what happened in Peru. You guys ousted and locked that communist up, right? He tried to close Congress and become a dictator, and the same pattern that everybody said was going to happen. So do you see this swing coming back in Latin America, only in Peru, only in Argentina, or is it widespread?
Well, I see the swing coming. I wouldn't say back, because I don't consider, if we talk about right-wing politics at its finest, I don't, or the way at least me and the people that I represent understand what it means to be right-wing. I don't consider Piñera, I don't consider Macri, I don't consider Kuczynski right-wing presidents or leaders. So I think it's coming. And I think if we want to touch on Milei, it is fascinating to see the proximity, the admiration between him and President Trump, because they're not exactly similar in their policies and how they understand economic terms and stuff. But in the battle of our times, Ivan, is the defense from an anthropological standpoint of human beings, and it's not just East versus West, left versus right, more government, less government. I think what's at stake now is the human condition, the way we understand it. It's being denigrated, it's been attacked, and we need to stand firm in its defense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we talk about it here a lot. It's called the left, the progressives, the insane asylum escapees. Like I always say, they need more psychiatrists, less politics, right? Because there are mentally ill people. They talk about this thing that I think is what you're referring to, is toxic masculinity. That the man is toxic and the root of all evil in history and in the world, and the male needs to be eliminated, right? Maybe you can't eliminate the man for reproduction reasons, but you should eliminate the man as a man and feminize the man, right? And that is something that's been going on that I think is tragic, is dangerous. It is extremely dangerous, because if there's no men, real men, who the fuck is going to take care of the problems when shit hits the fan? a bunch of girls, it's not going to happen, right? Men have a place and a role to play in society, and there's no way to eliminate that, right? And it's dangerous to try and do that. And I think Trump winning this election was historic for many reasons. One of the main reasons, I think, it put a dagger right through the heart of wokeness and cancel culture. It told them, we're done with you, you're out. We don't want anything to do with you ever again. And you're seeing more and more people on the left and this side, especially black men, coming out. We saw, Stephen A. Smith last night. I saw him, he was going crazy saying, you know what? When men, conservative black men, come out to support Trump or vote Republican, they get attacked, they get insulted, they get called Uncle Tom, sellouts, traitors. He goes, what the fuck is wrong with you people? That's not right. And he goes, and what you're doing is every day you're driving more and more of us to the Republican Party, because what you created in the black community was absolutely a zero benefit to the black community, because the Democrats assume blacks are going to vote for them, so they do nothing for them. Republicans assume blacks are going to vote for Democrats, so they don't waste their time. And you see, this president that did a lot for the black community during his first administration, engaged the black community during this campaign, and you saw the monster historic numbers that came out for him this time around. Same with Hispanics, 46%, never obtained in the history of this country. So you're seeing this shift, not just in white men, Anglo-Saxon, men or women, but you're seeing it across all races. Now you're telling me it's happening across an entire hemisphere. That is amazing to see. That is the impact of a strong world leader that I think the world needed and missed, because Biden was absent. He didn't know who he was or where he was half the time. It's amazing. I mean, I'm proud of the show that you do, man. You go after it. You go get them. You call the truth. You call, fouls, strikes, and balls. Your show is kick ass. Before we get into more topics, how can people follow your show? I know there's a lot of people that like to understand the perspective from good Hispanic conservatives, and understand what's happening in other countries and what's happening, specifically because of this deal. And you understand this, right? If those countries go to hell, that means more illegal immigration to the United States. If those countries are solid, growing, prosperous, have jobs, growing economies, people are going to want to stay in their homeland, right? So that's why it's important, the work you do and everything about your show. So where can they find you?
Thank you. Yeah, well, they can follow us on social media. My channel on YouTube, they can subscribe to. It's Diego Acuna Oficial, or just look for my name and then hit the subscribe button. But this is fascinating. This is the most important aspect of what I do, actually, because people finally realized what these agendas end up doing. They've witnessed the result of all this. And when you got children being mutilated, their genitals being mutilated, when you see children being subjected to puberty blockers, when you see women being relegated to a second level treatment, they don't have any privacy, they don't have any priority in sports, in their locker rooms, in their private areas, all of this, that is the issue of our time. And that is what I'm proud to do every day for the people who follow me. So here in Peru, in Latin America, of course in the U.S., finally people are coming together back to their senses and to common sense and rationality. Not so, and like I said, not so much. Of course, you need a political vector. You're going to follow someone who takes those ideas and translates that into a coherent political realm. But people are coming together that are not necessarily from the same place. Those Americans that voted for President Trump are not just right-wing Republicans. He took from the Democratic side as well, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%, right? And it's interesting you mentioned that, because his coalition includes Democrats. Look at Tulsi, look at RFK Jr. I mean, there's a ton of people that actually said, you know what, I'm done with the Democrats. And Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Jesus. And by the way, a footnote that I want to make about my friend Diego here, and the reason why I call him the Tucker Carlson of Latin America, because he had the highest rating show, the Tucker style show on TV. And, we're not going to get into the details because I'm pretty sure he can't, like Tucker, but he is on his own. He is streaming and he is crushing the numbers 10 times, 20 times the ratings and viewership that he had on network television. You got to follow him. He's a good guy and he's a solid conservative, even though I think you like to be more on the libertarian side, but it's okay. I got to ask you a question. I saw somebody post the other day on Facebook that they had gender-neutral bathrooms in your freaking airport. The fuck is that about? How did that happen?
Well, we actually taped that. That was maybe a year and a half ago, and it became like a scandal, this huge thing all over social media. And because that's the way it works. They start with this, and then they tweak that. And all of a sudden, they have this thing where you have to scan a code, and it takes you to a website where they explain to you what they consider is a woman, what qualifies as a man. And so it's called men in their diversity and women in their diversity.
So you can't just check in your pants to see if you're a man or a woman. You have to go to a website to have them explain it to you.
Well, they have so much energy being put into that, and the freaking luggage belts don't even work half the time. So,
oh my God.
That's what I mean by bringing people back to common sense.
Yeah.
And it's not even.
It's not even ideological, man. It's just common sense. It's not even right.
That I'm saying more taxes or less taxes. That comes second. Now it's just we need to get back to common ground. Even with certain Marxists, I couldn't disagree with a Marxist more on how to, run a country but I can be on the same page on what is a man and what is a woman.
Yeah.
With a progressive, I can't.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. Newt Gingrich, he was former Speaker of the House. He ran for president. He was, he led the Gingrich Revolution. With the contract with America and all that, took back the House, the Senate, and all that during the Clinton years. When he ran for president, I was his director for Hispanic communications. And Newt is a master, when he debates. He crushes everybody. And he used to always say something. He's like, before you can debate somebody, and going back to what you were saying about common ground, you have to establish common ground. You have to establish that 2 + 2 is 4. That an apple is an apple, and a watermelon is a watermelon, and a piece of chicken is a piece of chicken, and and a steak is a steak. If you say 2 + 2 and they say 17, you're going to have a problem, right? You're probably not going to be able to debate that person because the guy's a lunatic or he has a false sense of reality. And I think it's important what you're mentioning. Trump mentions it all the time. He says we got to go back to common sense politics, right? Back to common sense politics.
And there's this book that I'm reading. I really recommend it to people, whoever follows you can read in Spanish. Vanessa Kaiser is Axel's sister. Just published a book called Progressivism and the Culture of Death, and she makes a wonderful. One of the many points she makes is this wonderful point that the perfect citizen for the progressive movement around the world, the globalists, is and then you see how after A comes B and C, there's a whole agenda being driven right now constantly, is you need to get rid of the worldly links of people. First of all, the willingness to live, the appreciation for life, and the link to family, the link to country, to community, and et cetera, et cetera. And once you get rid of all that, the traditions, your heritage, your music, your culture, you're the perfect citizen because you're as malleable as you can be. And you're a nothing. You're just a floating being up on the air with no link to anything, no solid base to anything. And I think that's an interesting thing to analyze.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you have our friend Ron Aledo, the former CIA guy, on your show tonight. So you're going to have a lot of fun talking to him. He's going to talk about psyops and probably a lot of things. But he goes into that into the 2020 election and the psyops operation that really has been going around the world. You know, with media brainwashing people, how the left has taken over academia, justice, government in general, and how dangerous that's become, right? And I think Trump trying to really drain the swamp and clean things out and kick the table over, and with Doge, with Vivek and Elon, cutting the bureaucracy, I think is spectacular. Is that happening in Latin America? What's going on down there? So we see Milei. So he wins in this historic election. He's making dramatic changes. What's going on in the rest of the countries? Colombia still has Petro. In Chile, you still have a socialist. In Peru, you still do, right? Because the number two that took over was socialist or communist, or is she neutral, or what's the story there?
Well, no, she is. She was the VP of Castillo. They got elected with a Marxist governmental plan that was handed over to the jury. People forget about that, but we don't, certainly, because we reported it, and people said that we exaggerated and this and that, but it was the plan was what it was. And Milei right now is a beacon of hope for the region, really is. And you see, after he's closing in on his first year right now, on the 20th is going to be a year exactly, and the results speak for themselves. He's bringing in investment, he's closing in the inflationary gap, et cetera, and he, people are recovering confidence in themselves. I think that will permeate onto the rest of the region, and I think the partnership with President Trump is really important. One of the things I'm going to ask Ron Alito this evening is what is going to be different this time as far as Latin America involvement from the United States with President Trump now, because now that China here has gained a lot.
So talk to us about that, because I don't think the U.S. public understands the China threat. They understand the threat of China, but they don't understand how bad it is and how high the threat is in our own backyard in Latin America, right? So walk us through that. I know you've been following the China thing for a long time, so you're better qualified to talk about it than just about anybody.
I've been talking about this for the last at least 3 years, warning people about the strategic national assets that they were buying. They're dominating now. The most important port of the region now, Chancay, is going to be it's the biggest port in the area. They can move. It's a deep water port, so they can move whatever they want to move in the event of a global conflict. It's theirs, and they're negotiating 2 or 3 more key assets of Peru. They control energy. They're in mining. They're in construction. They have that port. They're negotiating 2 more ports in central Peru, not too far from where I am right now, and they control electric light distribution. When I denounced that, they told me I was a conspiracy theorist. I was paranoid, and now they control so you got to go through the Chinese Communist Party if you want the light distribution thing. That's nuts. To me, I can't even believe we've reached this point in the name of investment, because it's not private investment. We both know how China. Yeah. I've reported how they elect their leaders, right? It's a conclave of 1,700 people for a 1.7 billion people nation. They get behind closed doors. They throw in whatever, and they elect the leader of the Communist Party. And so it's just it's a sham. It's what it is. And
look,
I don't like at all the position we're in right now, and I really hope that Corio is going to be an even bigger port than Chancay. I really hope that an American company can get involved there and try to level the field somewhat.
Yeah, we had Matthew Shoemaker last week. He's a former naval intelligence officer, DIA guy, and we were talking about the ports and the assets, and he goes, you know, it's really dangerous because they're grabbing ports that have a lot of depth, like you just said. So if there is a conflict, they can take over those ports and move, equipment, vessels, whatever. And, and my producer is hollering here. We got to go to a commercial break. Hang on 1 second. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing, including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
All right, we're back, and don't forget to support our good friend Mike Lindell. Promo code IGH. You got to go buy shit for Christmas. What better stuff to buy than My Pillow? Nothing beats a good night's sleep, man. Those pillows are great. Mattress toppers, we have those. It's like sleeping on clouds, man. It's fantastic. You have to get one or several for the whole family. And if you haven't seen, Patrick Burns' docuseries, The Enemy Within, you should watch it. EnemyWithinDocuseries.com. Use promo code IGH. Patrick talks about how he was used by the intelligence community to bribe Hillary Clinton because they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win and Obama was going to hold that over her. And then it's amazing how when Trump wins, they turn all that into the Russian hoax. You have to watch that docuseries. Patrick is a stud. He's the founder and CEO of Overstock.com and, serial entrepreneur. EnemyWithinDocuseries.com, promo code IGH. All right, Diego, so China. Man, look, back when, this is 2015, I was in Mexico. AT&T was buying Usacell and Nextel Mexico. I remember I was down there on a trade mission, and I was meeting with the regulators in Mexico and people from, the embassy, et cetera. And they were telling me, hey, we know you're a former AT&T exec. Is there anything you can do to get AT&T to, to build the national public network? The Chinese are offering to do it virtually free, but we can't have the Chinese control all of the traffic. They'll be siphoning everybody's information, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's been a concern. You see the Panama Canal. You see infrastructure projects, not just here, but in Africa, all over the place. And, back to Latin America, I think things are going to change. You see a clear signal of that in Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Marco is very hawkish anti-China, very hawkish against the left. I think we're going to see a very, very drastic change. And if you remember, in his first administration with DPA, with the Defense Production Act, he grabbed Mauricio Clave from his National Security Council and he put him as president for the Inter-American Development Bank, which was the first time in history a United States, representative was the president. He put a lot of money out there. He put a lot of bounties to encourage U.S. companies to come out of China and relocate the Western Hemisphere. I think there's going to be a critical moment for countries in Latin America to work with the Trump administration and to court U.S. companies to come down to Latin America, open facilities, manufacturing. You start growing those things. And you know what? We have FTAs in place in several countries, Peru, Colombia, Chile, Panama, CAFTA, DR. There's a lot of things that can happen. I know from Peru's standpoint, Alfredo Ferrero, your ambassador to Washington, is a stud. He's the godfather of FTAs. He did the free trade agreement between Peru and the U.S. I think there's probably nobody better right now to represent Peru in this critical moment when I think a lot of things are going to happen in the region. Talk to us about Peru's strategic location in the continent and why that's so important for the Chinese, and it should be critical for the United States.
Well, it is because it changes. There's a geopolitical analysis to be made there, which, from the standpoint of the Peruvian state, never got actually done because they, conceded all these ports and assets without any further study from a geopolitical standpoint, and that's a tragedy. In the event of how proxy things work, right? Let's just say there's a conflict. China will use that port for whatever they want to use it. And when I reported this with in detail 2 months ago, I think it was, I gave the figures, the exact sums, and I think it was something in Latin America. It was close. It was over for sure. It was over $250 billion. $250 billion that China controls. That's their investment in Latin American countries all over the place. They have bases in Brazil. They have they have a space thing going on in Argentina, ports here, mining there, infrastructure over there. So let's just say, for argument's sake, just under $300 billion, and that's not to further relations between China and these countries. No. That's a new way to colonize and to subject our countries to that dependence. In all objectiveness, though, people who know that I'm very pro-America, that I think Peru should be aligned to the leader of the free world always, as Milei has said from the campaign days before he was president, that Argentina was going to be aligned to the free world and to countries that had common values, at least from a government standpoint. The private citizen can do whatever they want. People said, well, what did you expect? They were just going to happily wait until somebody from America came? And they're right. Because, I think the United States should have pursued this more aggressively, and now they've left the field wide open for China, and they've gained on them. I really hope there's a way to revert this. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is invest, control, invest, and I really hope under Trump it happens, Ivan.
Yeah, I think everybody does. I think it's look. I think they understand that if you have a strong Americas, first of all, as a trading bloc, it's huge, and you keep it, here versus in China, right? And the other thing is, just the immigration situation. If these countries are doing well, if these countries' economies are kicking ass, if these countries are generating jobs, if they're creating wealth, abundance, why would anybody leave? There's no reason to leave, right? So it's a multifaceted solution, but it's a solution that has to be done. And unfortunately, 2020 happened, and Trump was not able to implement his Latin America strategy, right? But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he does in 4 years. I think these 4 years are going to go by very fast. It's a very aggressive agenda, and it's going to be interesting because quite frankly, the Biden administration has left the world in a disaster. China is ready to take over Taiwan tomorrow morning, right? You see Iran, you see Russia, you see a lot of problems. And look, what happened the morning after Trump was elected? Hamas called for a ceasefire. Zelensky saying he's willing to negotiate land for peace. All of a sudden, everybody's starting to realize this guy's not fucking around. And then he sends that truth that says, return all the hostages or you will see devastation like never seen in history. What is the worst thing we've seen in history? Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, if he's talking about worse devastation than that, he's just going to turn them into a parking lot, right? He's going to blow them in the kingdom come. So I think people understand that he doesn't fuck around. He's very straight. We were kidding around off camera about calling Governor Trudeau, on his truth, saying, it was a pleasure meeting Governor Trudeau, but that's how he operates, right? You saw, in Paris for the Notre Dame, reopening, every world leader went up to Trump and, we're seeking, an audience or his blessings. Look, somebody talked to me from the financial world, a week after the election. And they said, we were talking about business and capital and whatnot. And I said, what happened? Kidding around. Seems like everybody's excited now. And he goes, Ivan, we live in a very different world today than we did a week ago. And that's amazing, because I think everybody feels it, right? You guys feel it. We feel it. Everybody feels it. You talk to people, friends that I have in Australia, people in Europe, some people in Brussels, everybody feels that there's been a change. Something changed. You just feel it, right? And, you're telling me that this, March for Life and Family Values was led by a Trump banner. I mean, that's amazing. So not only is Trump the leader of the United States, or if you want to call it the leader of the free world, but I think he's become a global movement. Do you agree with that?
I will absolutely, because and we saw the campaign over there when he got shot twice, what it means to have earned the right to represent the nation again. And I think it speaks mountains of him choosing Marco Rubio. I think that's a very clear statement for this second administration. Yeah. We'll see what happens with Venezuela. I don't know if he'll liberate the country. I hope he does. Honestly, I don't think there's any questions that it would be morally justified.
That would be over in like a morning, right? 6 a.m. by noon, everybody's celebrating, right?
Well, it would, and we know Marco Rubio has been an active voice in advocating for the freedom of the people of Cuba and Venezuela. I think it's only natural to regain that influence the U.S. once had with us. I pray to God that it does happen. But back to your point, he is more of he's not just a president. You don't even have to love him.
Right.
You just can't deny his influence and what he signifies in this fight that we're all on against this persistent attack on the human condition and common values of the West. That's enough for me. I'm not gonna. There's an old saying. I'm sure you've heard it. Or maybe you told me this. God doesn't send the most perfect person. He sends whoever's capable of doing the job.
That's right.
You told me this one, right?
Yep, that's right. That's right.
That's my focus. That, in a nutshell, is how I perceive the Trump phenomenon.
And it's true, right? And look, I see it everywhere, and like I was saying, I think it's a movement. It's a movement that's going to continue past Trump, because Trump is going to be here 4 years, but I think this movement is here to stay for a long time, kind of like the Reagan Revolution happened, right? I think the Trump Revolution is going to be here for a while. Its influence is going to be huge. And, and look, I like Marco. Marco has been very vocal in opposing, Latin American regimes and communist and socialist movements down there, including, when Castillo was running, very openly and very, publicly, opposed it. And he's always been working. He's a close friend of Latin America. He's a close friend of Peru. He's a good guy and a good friend. And I think that's a great choice. And, and not to get into too much, identity politics, but he's also the first Hispanic Secretary of State, which is a huge deal. He becomes third in line. You get the president, VP, and then the Secretary of State. Wow, man, that's huge. And to have an ally like that, for the region, for Hispanics, for Latin America, I think, every ambassador in D.C. should be running and chasing Marco and trying to sit down with him and establish a relationship, and I'm pretty sure Alfredo is. I know him well, and I'm sure he is if he hasn't already, But
it's history in the making. It's history in the making. It's historic. That appointment is historic. And back to what we were talking about. I really hope all of this happens and we can get back to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Some things need to change, but we need to conserve what worked.
Yeah.
There's no need to change. There's certain things that were good for people.
Yeah, no,
That's
100%.
how I see it.
And what's going on? What's going on in Colombia with Pitt?
Well, what a disaster that was.
You think, huh?
Well, the narratives once again were.
How did that happen? I mean, it's amazing to understand how can Pedro win? How did Castillo win? How did Lula? I mean, it's bizarre because people ask these questions and it seems like, how can this even be possible? How can we even be having these conversations?
Well, the Colombia case is fascinating from a political science standpoint. If we study that case, because there's a huge parallel to Chile there, and that we were all told for years that the way to to stop the left was to become aligned with the center, to fight it from the center, maximum center right. And so then you had guys like Santos, you had guys like Duque. I really liked what Uribe did in his day, but then he became something that you don't really know what it was. You're aligned on economics, but you're not. You're not aligned on social issues, which are part of the agenda. So that again, the narratives worked over there. They just they repeated them and they repeated them and they repeated them, and they permeated into people, and the press was captured, and here we are all of a sudden with someone who was a terrorist leading the country. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
That is unbelievable. Someone who was literally a terrorist. I mean this for people who might not know. I mean this literally a terrorist, not just sympathetic towards a terrorist, an active terrorist. If
he was a member of
recall,
the FARC, right?
Boric in Chile got elected in an alliance that contains the Communist Party. The one who took him to power contains the Communist Party.
That's crazy.
That is unbelievable. Chile, who was, for 30 years was led the region in economic growth, prosperity, this and that. That is why I think it's so fascinating to be doing what we're doing in this moment in history, because it's a fascinating time to do journalism and to fight for certain causes, because I think we really are reverting it. This whole thing, we're reverting it, and we're making progress day in and day out, and we're making a difference. And with Trump, I think that when you put all of us together, contrary to 2020, 2016, now, man, you see something that's different in the digital era. You reach people, there's a proximity. I think we're making a difference. And, you see it. We talk to people here. I talk to students. My foundation deals with very young people. And they're coming out of the closet and as far as political terms is concerned. And we're really making a difference. This is hitting hard.
So I want to have a little bit of a ideological conversation with you, and I've done this many times with several people in Latin America over the last 3 decades, because it's hard to understand. Why do these countries go so hard to the left? Where has the right failed? I think I know the answer, but I want to have this open dialogue with you so you can explain it to us, since you're actually on the ground. But why is it that the right always fails in these countries? What is it? Just so I'll cheat you and I'll give you my answer. I believe there wasn't ever a real right in these countries. That's what I believe. I think there was always this, lukewarm kind of Democrat Party from the U.S. claiming to be the right, but they're really fucking left, right? I think you call them caviares or something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's
Is there a real right in Latin America now? Is it starting to?
well now there is now
Is there,
there
or
is.
is it
You
starting to
see
build?
people
But
because first of all,
is it starting to get created, or does it exist now?
no. I think it's already been created. Even though,
Okay.
for example, in Brazil, they lost the election.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
multiple fraud
Yeah.
allegations in that
Yeah.
election as well.
Yeah.
But I think Bolsonaro is a real right, and you
Yeah.
see people drifting. There's a clear shift all over the world. You see this with Marine Le Pen.
Yep.
You see this with the creation of Vox. You see this with Giorgia Meloni. You see this with AFI in Germany. Obviously, Javier Milei. There's a new right movement coming out of Chile and Peru. You see it as well. But I agree. The first aspect to answer that question is that there was never an honest right. Right, the way I understand it is someone who clearly believes in life, pro-family, pro-country, pro-economic freedom, pro law and order, etc. If you don't have those things, you don't have a right. You can't be, yeah, man, I think taxes are bad and we should let people be economically free. And then you're progressive on social issues and you're aligned with, the LGBT lobby movement. No. And then, so that's right off the bat, that's point number one. Point number two is that we lost the battle of the press, the narratives. The right, if you will, became obsessed with numbers, reporting, percentages, free trade agreements, and everything that was macroeconomically true, but didn't contain an emotional story to tell to convince the new generations and to keep selling these values that we believe in, amongst which we have, free markets, free economies, and then, of course, we the right didn't do battle. Millet talks about this all the time. It's not that we lost the battle; it's that
Nobody fought.
right. Nobody showed up to fight the fight, and the cultural wars.
So I'm going to
It's
pause
part
you.
of-
I'm going to pause you right there because I want to dig into this issue, okay, and let you expand afterwards. But just on that specific issue, there is this sense, right, in all these countries that the right represented. Like in everywhere in the world, they always say the right represents the rich and the social economic upper class and blah 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 blah. In a lot of these countries, that segment doesn't represent itself, doesn't participate in politics, doesn't participate in things like that because they think it's dirty and gross and I don't want to get involved in that. And and that's always been the case. And in many times throughout the years, I mean, we don't have to get into specifics, but a lot of these people eventually would go and buy the president after he was elected, right? There's plenty of stories about duffel bags with cash and whatnot. That changed, right? Are people now getting involved? I mean, we see, like in Peru, Lopez Aliaga, multimillionaire, very, very rich guy, very successful businessman. They got involved, almost like Trump, wanted to save his country, et cetera, ran for president, lost to this communist, which we know there was a lot of fraud involved. Now he's a mayor. You were telling me what a kick-ass job he's doing. Probably, maybe one of the potential leading candidates coming into next year's election or 26. But is there more participation by that class, by the people that claim to be right? Or do they just say, yeah, I'm right, and make a couple posts on social media, but they don't get involved?
I think that we're starting to see some new participants that you wouldn't have seen before. So that's nice to see. The thing with that is that we're almost gonna go from one end to the other, and we're gonna have in excess of 60 political movements
Jesus.
registered for this 2026 election. So if you have to choose between 60 candidates,
6-0, not 1-6.
Yeah. No, 60. No. Last time with the 2021, we had 18, and we thought it was a joke. It was you can't even interview all of them. But so now, but yeah, we have some new people. That's part of the lethargic movement the right has had all this time, all these years, that it was the easy thing to do was to complain, but nobody ever took action, got involved. Nobody. So and the mayor is a very good example of that. He didn't have to do with this at all. He didn't have to do this.
No.
He's probably, I think he's a billionaire. He's one of the richest people in this country.
Yep.
Self-made success story, and he lives for public service right now. So if he can deliver 2 or 3 strategic things that are being executed right now, during 2025, I think he'll be the natural card of the right, especially social conservatives as I am.
That's great, man. That's great to hear. We're going to go to a break real quick, Mr. Producer. Whenever you're ready, man. Let's see.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Awesome, man. Mike Lindell, our good friend. We got to help him out. You guys know the story. He got canceled by every single major shopping outlet, and he went, in this direction with promo codes with, like this show and so many others, and he has absolutely crushed it, blown away his numbers. He is kicking ass. Thanks to you guys that support Mike Lindell. Just remember, promo code IGH, and have at it, man. Have a good night's sleep. Have a great Christmas, and you're definitely going to need a MyPillow and a mattress topper, especially after New Year's. So, anyways, Diego, so we're back. So the right does exist now.
Yeah, I think that it does, not only nationally but regionally. And I think that's really...
Are there regional movements in the right or no?
I'm sorry?
Are there regional movements or no?
Well, yeah, in individual countries.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Like the ones that I mentioned. I know there's a new one in Chile. And we need to battle the left just as much as we need to battle the fake right.
Yeah.
That is just already been established. That's a given.
And those are the dangerous ones, right? Those are the dangerous ones that claim to be right, and they're not, right?
If you want low taxes, economic freedom, but you're fine with children being mutilated, you're not my associate. You're not my partner in this battle.
No way. And there's so many of those, and there's so many of those that are fake, anyways. I mean, like I said, for decades they called these people right, and I was like, "There's nothing right about them." Well, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I just never understood how they could consider these people to be, right. And I was like, "You guys don't understand what right is. That doesn't exist. In these countries."
Two nights ago, Castillo's former foreign relations minister was in this show, and he started talking about the far right. And he said that Milei was borderline far right. And I said, what's far right about him? So who represents the far right? What is the far right now? And he couldn't explain it. he got disheveled. That's part of the narrative right now. The far right. Well, what's
It's
far
just
right
buzzwords.
about
It's
people
buzzwords. Yeah.
wanting a secure family, nobody interfering with their children, none
Yeah.
of this garbage being poured into their education, into their their high schools, middle schools, whatever. What's far right about wanting security, wanting the law upheld?
Yeah.
There's nothing far extreme about that.
It's insane, right? It's insane.
That's common sense. Now, if you want to become a dictator, we're talking about Mussolini and
Yeah.
Hitler, which, by the way, I saw, what's her name, Joy, the American talk show or whatever,
Oh my God, Joy Behar, the nutcase from The View.
no,
Oh.
this is an African American lady,
Oh my
or
God,
Reed,
yes, I know her. Joy
someone
Reid.
that
Yeah,
was just
Joy Reid from MSNBC. Yes, yes.
that was just out there. And I've seen out there people in my career, but this was just comparing Trump to Hitler, to Mussolini, to the people that drove apartheid. That was just that's a joke. I
Well,
mean,
they're insane, dude. They're insane. They have mental health issues, and
I really think,
that's what
literally.
people don't understand. I've been saying this for at least a decade. This whole woke and this whole cancel culture, this whole mutilation of children, this whole stuff. I've been saying it's mental health because you can't seriously tell me that a man is not a man and a woman is not a woman. I remember, Tucker, when he was still at Fox, he had a guy who was Caucasian, and he identified as a Filipino woman. And and Tucker just laughed in his face. And he said, I mean, dude, you need a psychiatrist. You don't need rules or laws to protect you. You need a psychiatrist to protect you from yourself, right? And
Yeah.
and that's the common sense shit that we've missed, right? Is why don't we call shit out like that for what it is? You know what? You need help. That's what you need. You don't need laws. You need help. Let's get you the help you need, right? Because it's ridiculous.
Well, you do, and since we're carrying the momentum, those of us who are on this site now, another reason to feel excited and positive is I was reading something that Dr. Jordan Peterson shared not too long ago with this year, saying that according to a recent research study, um, conservative men, young men, 17-year-old or less, is at an all-time high. At least, is it a 50? I don't know if it was 30, 40, or 50-year high right now, because they're fed up.
Yeah.
Male kids can't approach girls anymore
No.
because they're toxic, they're oppressors, there's this patriarchy thing, and so they're fed up with the whole thing. They want to go back to what's natural.
Yeah. That's amazing, man, and it's good to hear that it's happening everywhere, especially in Latin America. I want to touch one more issue with you, and if you want to go there, we can go there. If you don't, I get it. But this is going rogue, so this is about truth bombs, F bombs, and no bullshit, right? So let's fucking go. Peru. It is geopolitically important because of its position in the continent. Right? If you go across, towards Asia, you see where it points, where it lands, its location, not just in South America having, being right smack in the middle and having access to, high depths of water, right? Why hasn't the Peruvian government ever approached the United States and offered them to put a military base down there? If you do that, you get a military base in Latin America, all of a sudden there is peace in the entire region. And you know what? And you have a direct sight to China.
Well, I think we did have one. I don't know if we have one right now, but I don't think we do. But
No.
we did, and
But a long time ago. Yeah.
whether that's the solution or not, that's that comes with a huge political cost to
You don't think that could happen, huh?
to suggest that well, I don't think you can really justify it. Well, what would you say? What
Well,
reasons
you
would you
guys
give?
just did a deal with NASA, right?
Yeah, there's the commander general of that operation was supposed to be on the show. They didn't want to come. It became controversial when it got filtered in the press that project, but they claimed it wasn't what it was reported to be. But something's going on. Something's going to be built to the north,
Yep.
and I hope that's not the only project. Whether it's what it was announced or not, we'll see. But I think as long as we have uh, like Shanghai is something that changes the whole thing,
Yeah.
the dynamics of thing.
Yeah.
Right now with uh, Iran, with Putin, the way he's talking and the way he's acting, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just say for a moment, World War III comes. What's going to happen with that port? You think they're going to say, you know what, we might need to throw in? No, they're not going to ask for any permission. It's theirs.
Right.
They got access and they're going to use it. Geopolitically, it's strategic. Strategic because if you go down, you have access to east to west. It's close to the Panama Canal. It's close to the islands. If you go west, it has a huge significance. That location is very, very important, and the Chinese are not stupid.
Yeah.
That's why they pursued it. That's why they won.
Yeah.
Just like they won two. I think they just won a new port in Marcona,
Yep.
which I think is unbelievable. But they're so aggressive with their investment that the only thing you can combat that is to match.
But do you suspect
There are-
bribes involved?
Who?
Bribes.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I know. There's well, the lobbying is outrageous.
Yeah.
They're in every Congress commission. They're knocking on doors. They're calling people, and this comes from 2016 with Kuczynski, but very aggressively once he got vacated and Vizcarra took over. That's when the huge lobbying and the rules were changed to, give him an advantage over locals, and they just got carte blanche, and they just, took the money and ran.
That's amazing.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. No, I agree, man. You should have, you should talk to Matthew Shoemaker. He's an expert in Russia and China. And he was talking to me about some ports that the Chinese built in Africa that they've taken over.
Of course.
Because he says, you default on your payments, they take them over. And they say, okay, too bad, now it's mine. And now they can do whatever the fuck they want. And that's the strategy. That's the strategy. It's not we'll use them when we want them. No, we're going to build them. We're going to take your money. And then when you default, we're going to take them over and continue to take your money because now you got to pay us to use it. And whenever we need them, we're going to use them. So now they belong to them. Now they don't belong to the country anymore.
Yeah, and they put their people there, and it's a new type of warfare, is what it is.
Yeah, but it's amazing that countries, look, I don't want to bash Africa here, but Latin America is not Africa. We have a lot of well-educated people in Latin America, people like yourself, tons of people, Alfredo Ferrero, Lopez Aliaga. I mean, there's a million people in Latin America, millions that are highly educated, U.S. educated, etc., that understand these things. How does that get through? How does that happen with all these people that are educated? Do they just not speak up? They don't say anything. They don't participate in the process. They're too afraid to get involved. What happens?
With China specifically, there's huge interests at play. There's a lot of money being poured into this economy, and I think one of the countries that we reported was Sri Lanka. One of those countries had a huge project. I think it was a dam or I don't know what it was, but they seized it and they said, well, for the next 40 years, it's going to be ours. And right now, I don't know if you've read, but right now, today, this is news from today, the armed forces of Taiwan have gone into high alert.
Yeah.
So you never know because they said, well, they would have done it already. Well, does that mean they can't do it?
And it seems like they're going to continue doing it and very aggressively into Latin America all over, like you said, not just Peru, but everywhere else. I'm hoping that our friend Marco Rubio, now that he's sec state, he's gonna be very aggressive, and very active, and not just protecting our backyard, but hopefully getting companies out of China and moving them into the Western Hemisphere where we have free trade agreements and we can stabilize the situation, especially with China because they're so dangerous.
Listen, one of the things that I really liked about Trump in his first term was that he regulated the order of how things should be within the NATO countries as far as payments.
Yeah.
That is the way the U.S. should be led, in my opinion, because you don't have to penalize. What happened was you used to punish the American taxpayer,
Yeah.
and you put those countries on their backs unfairly. You need a guy like Trump to negotiate what's fair to his country. He represents the American people.
That's right. That's right. And that's a responsibility of every president, right? To represent the interests of their country, not somebody else's, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
so it's pretty crazy.
I love that. I love that he did that. I remember when he spoke to Macron and all these guys that were used to say, well, the U.S. Pollutes more, does this, so they need to. No, everybody pays what they're supposed to, and then we'll jump on board.
Yeah, that's right. And he killed it. He killed the Paris Accord. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We hope to have you here a lot more often, Diego. Your insight into Latin America is fantastic. Let's do this. Let's do this often, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Happy to be with you.
Talk to us about your foundation real quick before you go. What do you guys do?
Well, I'm the president of ILAD. It's the Institute for Liberty and Developmental Action. It's a think tank that we have. We have three axes. We have an education axis. We're about to graduate our first class. We every Saturday we have courses by top-notch professors from around the world on things like constitution, political thoughts, Austrian economics, values, cultural battle, etc. We have a social media channel which is one of the top 5, I would say, the main social media platforms for young people, 18 to 30 years old. We do only cultural battle there. And last, we have the investigation, research. We do research for public policy, and that's ILAD.
That's fantastic. Where can they follow that if they want to support you guys?
Social media, they can follow ILAD Media is the name of the channel. And if you want to check out what the institution does, you can log into www.ilad.pe.
Fantastic. Diego, you're a stud, man. Keep up the fight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care. All right, guys, that was Diego Acuna, a good friend, the Tucker Carlson of Latin America, and he was going rogue with us today. Hope you guys found that very educational, because I know so many people ask me, what the fuck is going on in Latin America all the time? And instead of me always giving my opinion, which I have no problem doing, I thought it was very key to bring somebody like that. We're going to be doing that, hopefully, with Diego very often. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. The election's got in the way, et cetera. But it's important to understand the threats and risks that we have in our own backyard, understand the roots of it, where they come from. And, we're going to have Ron back on to talk about, not the political stuff, but, the criminal aspect that lives down there with the cartels and everything else. So it's always fun. We're always going rogue, and we're always having a great time here. So anyways, you're seeing these 3 bottles over here. Make sure you follow us on social media, tag us, tag your friends, and we're going to have a drawing. You get to pick one of the 3 bottles, Zacapa, XO, or if you're a bourbon person, Basil Hayden. And you can see our toys here. We're going to be talking about them because they're going to be sponsoring us pretty soon. I love my Glock. This is my G20 Gen 5. It's a 10 mil. And this one I really enjoyed too. It's my 19X Glock. And this one right here is probably one of my favorites. It's the SIG P226 Legion. And it's all steel. It's got no plastic, anything. It is just a fantastic weapon. And anyways, personal protection is important, and you should take yours seriously, as we do here. There are always crazies and psychopaths and insane asylum escapees out there, so you never know. So, if you can strap, and make sure you always got one in the barrel. All right, take care. We'll see you tomorrow, and keep going rogue. Keep fighting the good fight. Take care.